Never mind the bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols. Never Mind the Bollocks. Here's the Sex Pistols is the only studio album by English punk rock band the Sex Pistols, released on 28 October 1977 by Virgin Records in the UK and on 11 November 1977 by Warner Bros. In the US. The album has influenced many bands and musicians, and the industry in general. In particular, the album's raw energy and Johnny Rotten's sneering delivery and half-singing are often considered game-changing. It is frequently listed as the most influential punk album and one of the most important and best albums of all time. The band's internal relationships were always volatile, and the lineup saw changes during the recording of the album. Original bass guitarist Glen Matlock left the band early in the recording process, and while he is credited as a co-writer on all but two of the tracks, he only performed bass on Anarchy in the UK. Recording sessions continued with a new bass player, Sid Vicious, who is credited on two of the songs the band wrote after he joined. While Vicious's bass playing appeared on two tracks, his lack of skill on the instrument meant that many of the tracks were recorded with guitarist Steve Jones playing bass instead. Drummer Paul Cook and singer Johnny Rotten appear on every track. The various recording sessions were led alternately by Chris Thomas or Bill Price, and sometimes both together, but as the songs on the final albums often combined mixes from different sessions or were poorly documented who was present in the recording booth at the time, each song is jointly credited to both producers. By the time of its release, the Sex Pistols were already controversial, having sworn on live TV, been fired from two record labels, and been banned from playing live in some parts of Britain. The album title added to that controversy, with some people finding the word bollocks offensive. Many record stores refused to carry it, and some record charts refused to list its title, showing just a blank space instead. Due in part to its notoriety, and in spite of many sales bans at major retailers, the album debuted at #1 on the UK album charts. It achieved advance orders of 125,000 copies after a week of its release and went gold only a few weeks later, on 17 November. It remained a bestseller for nearly a year, spending 48 weeks in the top 75. The album has also been certified platinum by the RIAA. It has seen several reissues, the latest in 2017. In 1987, Rolling Stone magazine named the album the second best of the previous 20 years, behind only the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The same magazine ranked it number 73 on their list of 500 greatest albums of all time in 2020. In 2006, it was chosen by Time magazine as one of the 100 greatest albums ever. Release. With the completion of Bodies, the time came to finalize the album's track list. Though John Savage wrote, there were 3 versions of each track available, Halen states that alternative versions for only 5 tracks EMI, No Feelings, 17 and Submission, plus an album mix of Satellite existed. It was not until 20 September that the track list was finalized, which Halen said suggests just how bogged down by the process they had become. Richard Branson spent the night deciding the track list and which versions to use, and included all the hits on the record, despite the objections of the band, McLaren's management company Glitterbist, and most of Virgin. Due to the album's long completion time, the Sex Pistols and McLaren decided to release Holidays in the Sun backed with Satellite as the band's 4th single. Holidays in the Sun was not as successful as past singles. It charted at number 8 and dropped out of the top 20 after 4 weeks, which Halen attributed to the group's announcement that their album would be released on 4 November. In an attempt to stem criticism over the decision to include all 4 previously released Sex Pistols singles on the forthcoming LP, Virgin indicated the possibility of an alternative album being issued simultaneously, featuring a new title and 2 new songs replacing 2 of the former hit singles. A label spokesman stated, "We've put the singles on the LP because most people wanted it that way, but the alternative set would enable us to overcome the multiple stores ban." A 10-song test pressing was made, though no new cuts were included, with Satellite and Submission being added as bonus tracks. The Sex Pistols' contract with Virgin stated that its music would be distributed by Virgin in the United States provided Branson matched any competing offers McLaren received. However, McLaren wanted to negotiate separate deals in every territory, regardless of what the contract stipulated, which angered Branson, as the clause for American distribution was an important one he had fought for. Branson knew he had been outmaneuvered by McLaren, for he could not sue to enforce the contract or else be perceived as acting like EMI or A&M. Competition for the band in the United States narrowed down to Warner Bros. Arista, Columbia, and Casablanca Records, with Warner Bros. Signing the band on 10 October for £22,000. Before Virgin could release Nevermind the Bollocks, Branson discovered that two other Sex Pistols albums were competing with his labels. In October, a bootleg named Spunk featuring high-quality recordings of Sex Pistols demos and recording sessions with Dave Goodman was released on a label called Blank. Among the rumors of who was behind the release of the tapes included Goodman, Glen Matlock, and McLaren, who has always considered Goodman's versions to be a more accurate representation of the band. Meanwhile, the French pressing of Nevermind the Bollocks on Barclay had added Submission to the slated 11-song track list and was due for release a week before Virgin's edition, as McLaren's separate deal with Barclay meant that the French release could not be halted, and given the Virgin head was aware of how easy it was for import records to arrive in Britain, Branson rushed production of Nevermind the Bollocks to ensure it would come out a week earlier than intended. Nevertheless, the Barclay version was already available in the UK at the time Virgin had its version ready. 10,000 copies of Virgin's pressing erroneously only listed 11 tracks on the sleeve, yet contained 12 on the actual record. Even with the availability of Spunk, the release of Nevermind the Bollocks, Here's the Sex Pistols was eagerly awaited in the United Kingdom. With advance orders of 125,000 copies, Nevermind the Bollocks debuted at number 1 on the UK album charts the week after its release. A ban of the album enacted by major retailers resulted in the record selling well through independent vendors instead. Title, Packaging and Obscenity Case. Legacy. In Christgau's Record Guide, Rock Albums of the 70s, Village Voice critic Robert Christgau reviewed Nevermind the Bollocks. Get this straight, no matter what the chickmongers want to believe, to call this band dangerous is more than a suave existentialist compliment. They mean no good. It won't do to pass off Rotten's hatred and disgust as role-playing. The gusto of the performance is too convincing, which is why this is such an impressive record. The forbidden ideas from which in 1983, the Bollock brothers released a track-by-track cover version of the album called Nevermind the Bollocks 1983. In 1985, Enemy writers voted Nevermind the Bollocks, Here's the Sex Pistols the 13th greatest album of all time. In 1993, Enemy writers voted the album the third greatest of all time. In 1987, Rolling Stone magazine named it the second best album of the previous 20 years, behind only the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. The same magazine named it 41st on their list of the 500 greatest albums ever in 2003, maintaining the position in its updated 2012 list. In an interview during 2002, Rolling Stone journalist Charles M. Young stated, "Nevermind the Bollocks changed everything. There had never been anything like it before, and really there's never been anything quite like it since. The closest was probably Nirvana, a band very heavily influenced by the Sex Pistols." Kurt Cobain from Nirvana listed the album on his top 50 favorite albums, and the title of Nirvana's second album, Nevermind, was inspired by the Sex Pistols album, which at the time angered Rotten. In his 1995 book, the Alternative Music Almanac, Alan Cross placed the album in the number 6 spot on his 10 classic alternative albums list. In 1997, Never Mind the Bollocks, Here's the Sex Pistols was named the 24th greatest album of all time in a Music of the Millennium poll conducted in the United Kingdom by HMV Group, Channel 4, The Guardian and Classic FM. In 2000 it was voted number 29 in Colin Larkin's all-time top 1,000 albums. In 2005, the album was ranked number 276 in Rock Hard magazine's book of the 500 greatest rock and metal albums of all time. In 2006, it was chosen by Time magazine as one of the 100 greatest albums ever, and in the same year NME voted the album the 4th greatest British album. Noel Gallagher was interviewed for a television program called When Albums Ruled the World for the BBC, aired in early 2013. He said of the album's opening with Holidays in the Sun, that is extremely provocative, what we can only assume is jackboots, which he followed by saying, as soon as that starts, everything that has gone on before is now deemed fucking irrelevant, as soon as John Lydon starts anti-singing. He then said of Pretty Vacant, one of the first things you learn when you pick up the electric guitar is that riff. He then further commented, I made 10 albums and in my mind they don't match up to that. And I'm an arrogant bastard. I'd give them all up to have written that, I truly would. Reissues. In 1996, Virgin reissued Never Mind the Bollocks as a double CD with the original Spunk bootleg album as Spunk/This Is Crap. On 29 October 2007, Virgin released a special 30th anniversary edition of the album in 180-gram vinyl LP format. The set included a 7-inch insert of Submission and poster, as originally released on 28 October 1977. Virgin also reissued the group's 4 singles, Anarchy in the UK, God Save the Queen, Pretty Vacant and Holidays in the Sun, on 7-inch vinyl before the album reissue. In the US and Canada, these re-releases were handled by Warner Bros., which originally released the album in North America and as of 2017 still owns the regional copyright to the album. A 4-disc box set reissue occurred on 24 September 2012. The set includes the original album, which for the first time was digitally remastered from the original master tapes, on disc 1. The sound quality of this remaster is thus a significant improvement over all other reissues. The remastering process was overseen by original producer Chris Thomas. The second disc comprises all but one of the band's officially released B-sides, omitting I Wanna Be Me, which were also remastered. This disc also includes outtakes and demos from the recording sessions for NMTV. Most notably, the studio demo of Belson Was a Gas, which had been recently rediscovered and was previously thought lost forever. The third disc contains 2 live recordings from 1977, including the previously unreleased complete soundboard recording of their performance at the Happy House in Stockholm, Sweden on 28 June 1977. The fourth and final disc is a DVD of live and studio videos as well as audio interviews from 1977. Also included is a full-size 100-page hardcover, full-color coffee table book, which contains rear pictures, articles, and interviews that provides a timeline of the band. Additionally, the set includes a full-size replica Subway promotional NMTV poster, replicas of original promo stickers, a reprint of John Lydon's original handwritten lyrics. This UMG box set Sex Bispo X 1977 and the 2002 Virgin box set Sexpo Zone together contain almost the entire Sex Pistols studio/demo sessions, omitting only 3 of the June. In 2015, as part of Record Store Day, the album was reissued as a picture disc, reaching number 7 in the UX Top 40 vinyl album chart. Track listing. 11-track version. All tracks are written by Paul Cook, Steve Jones, Glen Matlock, and Johnny Rotten except where noted. Note: Submission was included with most copies as a one-sided 7-inch single. 12-track version UK edition. 12-track version US edition. 2012 remastered edition Japan release. Notes: Tracks 111 live at Happy House, Stockholm, Sweden, 28 July 28, 1977. Tracks 1214 live at Penzance, Winter Gardens, Cornwall, 1 September 1, 1977. Personnel. The Sex Pistols. Johnny Rotten lead vocals. Steve Jones guitar, bass guitar, backing vocals. Paul Cook drums. Glen Matlock bass guitar on Anarchy in the UK. Sid Vicious bass guitar on Bodies and God Save the Queen production. Chris Thomas producer. Phil Price engineering, co-production. John Walls AAR Studios second engineer. Charts. Certifications.